Hello, hello. We are back. We are back talking cricket once again, and as you see Sandipani on the screen, we're back to be talking about the Indian cricket team. It's been a while. Last episode we did on Indian cricket team was way back in November. It was a very disappointing episode, rather, but that's an episode which got us the most number of views until date. So I still think talking about Indian cricket team is very relevant for us to survive and for you people to also enjoy. So we're gonna definitely talk about the hangama which is happening in Indian cricket. Since the last video, a lot has happened. We've had a couple more other captains. We've had a lot of exclusions in the Indian cricket team, but we are here to talk about it and analyze it in depth. Welcome, gentlemen, on the show. Yesterday, the Indian squad for the Sri Lankan series was announced, T20Is and one dayers, and you saw some notable exclusions, both from the one day squad and from the T20 squad. How do you see this? Is this the beginning of a new era? To start off with Jaren, how do you see this welcoming changes? Is this something what we're going to see in future, or is it just that they wanted to do it because a lot of players wanted rest?
Oh, I think Abel, we had manifested this a long time back in that same episode you spoke about, right? Where we said that Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma are going to be two, and KL Rahul are not going to play in the T20 format at least in 2023 now, till the World Cup gets over. Because they want these players, in the same fashion how these players are not playing ODI format for a long time for India because they wanted these players to focus solely on T20 cricket. Now, the same is going to happen with one day cricket because 2023 World Cup is coming to India, and India really wants to finish that long quest for silverware in cricket after the 2013 Champions Trophy. So a lot is riding on this World Cup, and that's the reason why these players are not going to be playing one day cricket because you simply don't want them to get mixed up now. You want to form a team for for the ODI World Cup, and that's I think at this point in time, all those exclusions you see in the ODI squad are people who are probably going to miss the ticket to the World Cup.
Right. That makes a lot of sense as well because when we talk about the one day squad, it's totally different from the T20 squad. There's definitely a vision which has been laid down by. It's still the same old selectors. It's not the new selectors. So I don't want to go out there and appreciate them any bit. They've really been very chaotic. I don't think they deserve any bit of appreciation for anything whatsoever. I'm being very blunt over here, and that's the case. That's the way we have to be because where appreciation is due, will certainly will, but when it's not due, we won't. So, but let's look at the squads first. Let's pull out the T20 squad first up. As you can see, the T20 squad, Hardik Pandya is the captain. Then there's also a notable thing. Surya Kumar Yadav is the vice captain of this team. Ishan Kishan, the wicket keeping choice. There's no Rishabh Pant. From the reports, what we're hearing is that Rishabh Pant has been sent to NCA for strength and conditioning for his knee. There's Sanju Samson, there is Shubman Gill, Ruturaj Gaikwad, and Ishan Kishan. You can see Deepak Hood and Rahul Tripathi. Washington's under Yuzvendra Chahal, Arshdeep Singh, Harshal Patel, Umran Malik. Shivam Mavi is a new name alongside Mukesh Kumar. Of course, Sanjay, what do you make of this squad? Because there are some exciting additions to this squad with the likes of Shivam Mavi and Mukesh Kumar being the new exciting addition in the T20 format. But before that, do you think this is a lot like a Hardik Pandya blueprint in this squad? You have Shubman Gill from the Gujarat Titans squad. You have Shivam Mavi, who they bought last week, part of this Indian team. All of a sudden, once Hardik Pandya has taken over, and do you see Hardik Pandya to be the captain for India in the T20 World Cup in 2024?
Definitely bright, hopefully bright seasons ahead for Team India when it comes to T20I cricket. And we have seen that the team is finally taking Kohli, Rohit Sharma, some experienced names off the list of the T20I squad. More so because the senior players are now going to focus on the ODI format for the 23 World Cup. But having said that, I think this sort of team is something that we'll get to see throughout the next calendar year, until the next World Cup is over. At least till November 2023, we are going to expect a new young Indian side to don the jersey when they come to the pitch. Especially names like Shivam Mavi. You can also expect some IPL, if you have some IPL sensations. If you have a Mohsin Khan doing what he did for Lucknow Super Giants in the last season, you can probably have the inclusion of such names to the side as well, because this team, I think they'll be going through transition right now with Hardik Pandya as the captain and Surya Kumar Yadav as the vice captain. I think they have the leadership role for the next T20I World Cup. I think it's just now about fitting in the youngsters and the players that they need for the exact roles that are available in the team, and then just to give them enough time and the environment for them to sort of have their growth in the Indian team. We saw that Venkatesh Iyer and other players came in that 2021-2022 transition period. There were lots of new names making the rounds. Umran Malik, after the IPL, came into the side. Arshdeep Singh was another player who came after the IPL. And I think once the IPL is over, we'll have a more sort of a fixed side in the T20I format till the IPL, till March. Whatever T20Is India are going to play, I think they are going to go ahead with the same players that they have selected for the Sri Lankan series. I think we'll just have one or two names here and there changed here and there. Other than that, I think I don't know whether Rishabh Pant will, even if he's fit, I don't know whether he'll get another chance in the T20I format in a near future. Probably he'll need to have an outstanding IPL, a season like 2016 or 2017 that he had for Delhi Capitals. He'll need a season of that sort to again sort of get his market value up in the T20I format. That is.
Yeah, absolutely, and that makes a lot of sense as well because Rishabh Pant, I know, Faisal believe he's an integral part of this squad because there is something about him that we've seen him perform in the T20 format. It's not like he's a player who's never performed in T20 format. So there is always this sense of belief that he can come back into the T20 format squad and he can start performing from the get go. I'll come to you, Jared, especially if you look at the squad. I'll just put up the squad once again on the screen. If you look at this squad, you can understand that there's a lot of players who are top order bats, predominantly top order bats. Now, if you look at Ruturaj Gaikwad, he bats what a 125 strike rate in IPL, but he's consistent in terms of scoring that. Shubman Gill, another player who bats 120 strike rate, 125, 120, 130 if it needs to be on a good day. Ishant Kishan on the other end has not been striking the ball well at all in T20 format. His strike rate has dropped down to 128, 127 as well. So if you talk about these batters up there, all of them have a very similar dimension to their game, which is to bat in an anchor's position or to bat at a certain rate, which is very identical to each other. Are you seeing any sort of improvement from where we have left off since the T20 World Cup? Because the sense of belief or the sense of ideology or the philosophy which is laid down to this team is very similar to what it was with the previous team as well. Because you're bringing these players who are once again anchor bats into the team. I know Hardik Pandya is a welcome move as a captain. We'll talk about Hardik Pandya being the future prospect, or we're not even sure if he's the current T20 captain because there is no confirmation with BCCI. BCCI keeps doing this waiting game with us, keeps us all guessing time and time again. There's no clarity in terms of selection and dropping. That is something which we are all used to of BCCI by now. But I'll ask you this question: nothing has changed, same identical patterns. There are just new names who play similar game.
Yeah, and we just had a graph for this able. If you look at that, I mean, if you can pull up that graph for me, for the viewers while I go through this, you will realize that, India's not really had, if you look at the squad, right, and you look at the total amount of players, you have around top six top order bats right there. You have Gaikwad, Shubman Gill, Rahul Tripathi, Sanju Samson, Deepak Hooda, and Ishan Kishan. I know you can adjust Rahul Tripathi still to that middle order position, but you don't I really don't reckon that's where he's the most comfortable at. And you have to sometimes, especially when players are going to be playing international cricket, which is the most toughest of the standards they'll ever face, they should be slotting into that top, they should be slotting into that position which they're really comfortable about. Also, there is also this problem, right, that not many players in the IPL, not many breakout stars in the IPL, in Indian breakout stars in the IPL are middle order bats. They're usually top order batsmen, and in the end, India has had to convert them into middle order batters, and then I think that's one of the areas where problem really lies. And as you mentioned, the strike rates once again. You look at Rituraj Gaikwad, Shubman Gill. All of these are the same. They cut from the same cookie dough, as you would say, or same cut from the same cloth, because they end up playing a certain brand of cricket where they're slow to start off and then they play the aggressive brand. Ishan Kishan used to be an explosive opening bat, but then recent times, and this is something that is a trend which we have seen in Indian cricket for a long time. I spoke about it in the previous live as well, where long list of players, KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant, even Hardik Pandya to an extent, even though I think he's not really turned around. But KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya, Ishan Kishan, so many of these players started off as an explosive batter who could hit the six of the first ball to now being batters who score at 120, 130 strike rate. Even start at 110, 115 strike rate and then maybe push to 140 after facing 20 balls. So that is going to really hurt India. Their power play is not going to be a great power play. And this really affects you when you're playing in an ICC tournament or a knockout tournament, right? In a bilateral series, you get three chances or two chances at least to turn things around, even if you lose the first match. But in a knockout match, you only have one opportunity. And so it is always the one who plays the most fearless brand of cricket that goes ahead with the win. And that's what we saw with England. And that's what we saw that went against India because India were very cautious about their approach. And again, this team looks like a very cautious team.
I think Jaren, you're facing some sort of connectivity issue. Maybe you can rejoin us. Meanwhile, as we go ahead, Kapil says Punch shouldn't be selected in T20Is and Kale shouldn't be selected in any format at all. And also, Saini also was here says that Rohit Sharma is a burden in T20 format, and public ultimately want to sell. It all makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, Satyamani? Because when we talk about players, and especially certain players like KL Rahul, who's been having a disastrous season so far in all formats. He was also given the mantle of the captaincy in Test format, where I thought he did a decent job as a Test captain. But when it comes to his batting performance, he was nowhere there. But as a one-day batter, I still see a lot of future in him because he's done nothing wrong batting at number 5 for Team India in one days. I think that is one position you can't argue about because he's given consistent performance time and time batting at number 5 in one day. There's a lot of stability which he brings into the team because in case you have a collapse like 8 for 3 or 5 for 3 in a big match, there is a KL Rahul who can possibly stabilize that middle order in one day format, and he's done a good job there. But when you talk about the T20 format, now is it time that we are looking beyond KL Rahul? Because there were a lot of rumors that KL Rahul had asked break for personal reasons, but that was for the New Zealand series and not for the Sri Lankan series, which meant he was available for selection for the Sri Lankan series. And right now, selectors have looked beyond KL Rahul, the batter in T20 format. How do you see that? Because it's a surprising exclusion, one can say so, because there's a lot of talent in the lad, right? You've seen him perform in some of the biggest occasions in IPL, but he's not been able to generate that international format. And he's been a player who has really choked under pressure. I'm not going to be shy away from. I'm not going to shy away from using the word choke because he's choked really from performing under pressure. And also to add to that, a player like KL Rahul's caliber has not really been able to reach up to the level or standards which are set for himself in IPL. Because we talk in IPL every season or the other, he's in the top 3 list of orange cap. But that
And he
also is
has
not really
consistently
reflected.
scored in excess of 550 runs in the IPL, but that is a different role that he plays for his IPL side. For Punjab Kings, he and Mayank Agarwal were the two players who used to set the foundation for the Punjab Kings innings in the seasons of 2018, 19, 20. Moved to Lucknow Super Giants, and still Lucknow Super Giants, like we saw in the last season, were heavily reliant on their top three to score majority of the runs. As a result, KL Rahul was needed to play the anchor's role in that team. And whenever he has gone on to play that anchor's role, he has excelled. If you give KL Rahul 20-25 deliveries to settle down, I think KL Rahul is one of the best in the world. And is a very good opener, even when it comes to the ODI format. But India have been using him at number 5, and he has been giving them results. So I think he has done a great job for Team India in ODIs in recent times. He is running. He's not in the best of forms. I think uh, he has also been the target of a lot of we can say misguided sort of frustration, which we should have sort of given to the entire team in general. The team was KL Rahul did not choke alone in the semi-final. What I want to say, the entire Indian team did. The entire team choked under pressure, and that is what Team India has been doing in important matches. They have been going on to win bilateral series throughout the year, and when it comes to the ICC tournaments or the critical knockout matches, the Indian team has just come out short. So I think this is definitely a very interesting decision to leave KL Rahul out of the T20I series, because I think he was in consideration for in consideration for selection. I think, and I think he'll be back. I definitely feel KL Rahul will be back for the Indian team in the T20I format as well. I think it's just one of those series where India are trying to go with the youngsters, and they are trusting Hardik Pandya and probably Surya Kumar Yadav to take on that leadership
You really
responsibility.
think so? There is a need for KL Rahul to even come back into the squad at this point because
But he
he's
has,
not really
see,
giving any stock.
when we just talk about KL Rahul's, yeah, he has been, we can say, a stat padder, because I know it's a very derogatory thing to compare him to, like, they're calling him a stat padder, because basically you are just playing for yourself, but that is not the case. We have seen whenever KL Rahul has played for 25-30 deliveries, he has gone on to accelerate his strike rate, he has gone on to get those big scores.
You know why I say that, Sandeep? Because there was a lot of debate from whatever resource, whatever reports we've been able to gather, is that there were a lot of reports, there were a lot of debate on its inclusion in the one day squad as well. Because there was a debate or an argument between selectors and Rohit Sharma for having KL Rahul in the one day team, because
But
selectors
that is,
are
I feel
against the
his,
notion of having KL Rahul in any format at this point. And hence he's been also demoted off he's been taken off the vice captaincy position which he held previously in the white ball format.
yeah,
Now he's over the
see,
vice captain
India
of the
were
one day.
definitely going, considering KL Rahul ahead of Hardik Pandya in the pecking order for captaincy. When it came to the next generation, they were not next generation as such. When Kohli, Rohit Sharma decided to call it quits, they wanted to give the captaincy to KL Rahul and not Hardik Pandya. Hardik Pandya rose to, like, he just came back out of that injury in 2022 was Hardik Pandya's year. He won everything that was there to win as a captain. He won the IPL. He came back in the international side, performed with the bat, performed with the ball. Whenever he was given captaincy in the T20I format, he excelled. So I think Hardik Pandya excelling and KL Rahul not getting the results together were like, both the things came into consideration when they actually decided to give the captaincy to Hardik Pandya. And now KL Rahul has fallen off that pecking order. And I think the debate on KL Rahul being in the ODI side, right now, I think it's still baseless, because he has been getting the results for you at number 5 for Team India. And we have seen Surya Kumar Yadav, no matter the god that he is in T20I format right now, it's been Surya Kumar Yadav with the bat for Team India in T20Is in 2022, not just in for India, but even for Mumbai Indians as well, for franchises as well. Surya Kumar Yadav has been excellent. But when it comes to the ODI format, Surya Kumar Yadav
I think we
hasn't
will talk
really.
about ODI over there, Sandeep. I think we will come to ODI, but let's get
Yeah.
done with the T20 format because that's where the notable changes have taken
Yeah,
place. Right?
so just concluding my point, I think the fact that they were considering another player in place of KL Rahul at number 5 in the ODI is still, I think it is unfair towards KL Rahul.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
it comes to T20Is, yeah, if you are looking for transition, drop KL Rahul. You have no choice. He's one of the senior players who haven't had the
Well,
results in pressure
unfortunately for
situations.
him, things haven't really gone his way. I mean, those aren't short for KL Rahul at all. He's what, just 30 years old. He's possibly got a good 6 to 7 years of cricket left. But then, provided in the next 6 to 7 years, whatever he's got left in him, he has to play at his ultimate best to really make an impact or to be remembered forever in Indian folklore, at least in some format. At least in one day format, I still think he can really achieve greatness batting in the middle order because you need stability of KL Rahul, as I mentioned. And as also Sandeep rightly mentioned about it. Kapil here says that I believe that Indian team must have at least one fast bowling all round in the top three. See, Kapil, there is your point is very valid and something which we've been talking over the last 3 to 4 years as to we need another fast bowling all round in the top six. But unfortunately for Team India, we haven't been able to discover that fast bowling all rounder. Now, are you going to slot in Hardik Pandya in the top order as well? It's not going to make any sense because you don't have middle order bats. Everyone you have picked, I'll pull that stat once again for you. If you look at this stat, you can understand the number of top order bats you have is crazy. You have what, close to six top order bats, and you have only two middle order bats. So you can't allow Hardik Pandya to also to be a top order bat at this point of stage. You need Hardik Pandya to do the finishing job because it's a rare thing. Not a lot of batters can finish it for you. So even if you look at this graph once again, two middle order bats, three lower order bats, and six top order bats. Now within the top order bats, you should be able to slot in these players in different positions in the middle order, number four, number five, number six. So that's going to be very interesting to see how they are slotted in. So whatever Sanju Samson has been communicated is that Sanju Samson has been looked upon as a number 5 batter in T20s, which is very surprising
Definitely,
for
because
me.
you don't have any other slots, right? The top order, as you rightly mentioned, is full of players. India has generated number one, number two, number three, number four players in T20Is for a long time now. And like Jerin pointed out, from IPL, whatever players we have got out, whatever superstars have risen out of the IPL in the last few years, have all been top order batsmen. It's rarely that you get Surya Kumar Yadav in that list. And even if you consider Surya Kumar Yadav, if you ask Surya Kumar Yadav which position would you actually prefer to bat in, he will say at number three, because I think that's the position he'll excel the most if given an opportunity in T20I. So I think that's
Makes
a major concern for Team India.
Makes sense for me. Here, Shinwari has an interesting thought. He says Bhuvneshwar Kumar is the best bowler in the world when it comes to new ball bowling, and how can he be dropped with Team India? Jen, your thoughts on this? Because we are very critical about Bhuvneshwar Kumar, and we went quite pleased after the Asia Cup performance as well that he is still part of Team India, or even after last World Cup. To have him for another World Cup in itself was a huge mistake, because the transition should have happened right after 2021 T20 World Cup rather after 2022 T20 World Cup. Now you have 2 years, and now looking beyond Bhuvneshwar Kumar was the only possible way. Now you've brought in a Mukesh Kumar, who does a similar job like Bhuvneshwar Kumar, to ball up front with a new ball, and you have a Shivam Mavi, who balls also with a new ball, can pick up wickets up front. Arshdeep Singh has been definitely there. So there's definitely a transition which is taking place, and there is still Bumrah to come in this team. So Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think it's time up for Bhuvneshwar Kumar in this format, or maybe even with Team India, isn't it?
Yeah, I will. I'll just talk about what you asked me, right? In terms of the squad that India selected right now, if you look at the bowling options that India has, just looking at the right arm fast bowlers and the left arm fast bowler, that is in Arshdeep Singh, you'll realize that India has what a lot of new ball bowlers, as you mentioned. Shivam Mavi, Mukesh Kumar, and Arshdeep Singh, they can bowl with a new ball. And then you're expecting, and probably in this team at this point in time, you would say that Arshdeep Singh is your best new ball bowler. And if what Shinwari says, if you add Bhuvneshwar Kumar to that list, then if you suddenly have what four new ball bowlers really, and then you have Hardik Pandya and Umran Malik, who probably ball in the middle overs. You can't really bank on Hardik Pandya to ball the death overs. And Umran Malik as well, we've seen time and time again how he's a middle overs enforcer for Sunrisers Hyderabad rather than a death over bowler or even a power play bowler. Even the power play, if he comes to ball, he usually comes to ball in the fifth or sixth over, right? And you've seen how that has gone disastrously for him, because he's still a bowler who, for me, I still feel he's still a bowler who balls a lot of line and length, good length deliveries, tries to make the beat the batsman for pace, and that kind of doesn't usually work when the ball is really hard in you and the field is not actually put back for you. And at an international level, I think maybe Sri Lanka might struggle against Umran Malik, but what about an Australia or a South Africa who have grown up facing a lot of bowlers like Umran Malik? So point here, Abel, again, when your death bowlers are really Harshdeep Singh and Harshal Patel. Harshal Patel again has had a disastrous a few months for India now. He is looking for a comeback really. And having said that, putting into perspective now, you aren't really developing those death bowlers as well in India, right? That's one issue you really say. Franchises depend on foreign, foreign players as the death bowlers. Maybe only exception that I can think of is RCB in Harshal Patel and Mumbai Indians in Jasprit Bumrah. Aside from that, every other bowler for franchise teams are new ball bowlers if they're
I mean,
Indian.
I think
And then
Siraj
we
to an
have,
extent also has been developed as a death bowler by Team India in the last
yeah, I mean,
6, 7
Siraj, I think
one day
Siraj is
format.
working towards it. Yeah, I agree with you. Siraj is trying that. On a personal level, I see Siraj actually working towards it. He's actually become much better than before, but he's yet to be tested really able, because the South Africa team that they faced, that India faced, and when he did really well, was a team which was really jaded, and we saw that in their performances. Now, this cycle of one day format, this cycle of one day games, this is where I think really things will start to come into picture. Whether Siraj is really your death bowling option, and if Siraj is your death bowling option, then you have to make sure that you bifurcate it, right? That is a mistake that I felt India did in the World Cup as well. We had too many bowlers who wanted the new ball. Mohammad Shami, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Arshdeep Singh. These are your top three pacers, and all have wanted the new ball. You cannot have that happen in a team. You need to have variety of bowlers, and I think that's why maybe India kind of made a mistake in trying to ball Arshdeep way too much in the power play. I mean, I understand he's a great bowler in the power play, he's a wicket-taking option in the power play, but you need to bifurcate these roles to bowlers so that they can themselves start growing personally and improve their skills. Because then an Arshdeep has to now work in the nets, whether he has to swing the ball with a new ball, or he has to work in the nets, whether he has to bowl death overs. Either of it works. You cannot put both your feet in two different boats. And I think that's where Indian cricket needs to start specializing. And so, example, Sanju Samson's example is a great example here. Sanju Samson bats at number 3 for Rajasthan Royals at best. And we've seen when he comes below number 3, he struggles to bat. Now you're putting him at number 5 and you're asking him to fight for his position in the team by batting at number 5. I think that's really not fair.
I mean, I really can't blame Indian team for asking him to do that, because you need to find players, you need to groom players in certain positions as well, because everybody in the IPL franchise
But I
bats
mean,
in
that's the
different
point, Abel. If you're
That's what
grooming
they
him,
And
are.
just to
so
extend
if
that
Sanju
point, I
Samson is your
think that
pick
is
at number
something
5,
Team
maybe.
India did try on Venkatesh Iyer as well. Where once Hardik Pandya was injured, Venkatesh Iyer was opening the innings for KKR. He just had a great season in 2020 for KKR. He was one of the reasons why KKR made it to the finals in the 2020 season, especially in that second leg when he came in and just took the world by fire. And then suddenly he was brought into the Indian team at number 6, a role that was not well, a lot of people thought he would not be very comfortable performing because he hadn't done it for them in the past, but he managed to do it. But then again, it came down to last year where he had a terrible I mean this year, where he did not have the best of IPLs. He could not open the innings for KKR. He was not doing a good job opening the innings for KKR. When he was coming in at number 6, he was not being able to do the job for them. So I think Kapil Verma's question over here, someone like Venkatesh Iyer should be given more matches. I think he's definitely going to be in India's selection radar if he has a good IPL season. I think this IPL season is going to be make or break for him, because he has had one phenomenal season, and then he had the second very sort of, you can say, a humble season because he did not get going. He was dropped from the Indian team courtesy Hardik Pandya coming back. So I think if India wants to groom in these fast bowling or medium pacer all rounders who can sort of come in the top order and do the job with the bat, and then come in and bowl 2-3 crucial overs, because with Venkatesh Iyer you have the option, or you can say the luxury of giving him the bowler even in the death overs. Because one thing with Venkatesh Iyer, I think he is very clinical with the Yorkers towards the later half of the innings. So I think that is something that Team India can definitely look on, and I think he is definitely in that selection radar. But he has to have a great season for KKR, because you can't
I
have a
personally think he's off the selection radar by miles at this point, because
no. I mean, he
whatever I've
needs to
seen
have
of
a
him in
great
the last
IPL
one
season to come
season,
in, because he was there in the team.
clueless. He's got severe technical flaws. He's been unable to bat in the top order. I mean,
But he
you
has had a
already
great domestic season as well. Not great, I mean great by standards, but I think it was a mediocre sort of a tournament. With ball, he was okay. With bat, he was great. For Madhya Pradesh in the Ranji trophies, even in the Syed Mustaq Ali trophies, he got some runs. I think he has been in good form, but yeah, he'll have to
I
work
mean,
his way back to the top.
I'll take a question from Kapil here, right? Abel, which where he says that higher amount of cricket is played in this nation at a level, at all levels, still BCCI are not able to find quality all rounders and quality left arm fast bowlers. I think for me, Kapil, and you had asked a question earlier as well about a top order fast bowling all rounder, right? Jack Scalise is one of a generation bowler because it's very much difficult to be a fast bowling all rounder because you have to work on two very difficult skills. Fast bowling is a very difficult skill because it takes a lot of investment from the player in terms of his dietary restrictions and a lot of techniques and stuff like that. Batting in the top order is equally difficult because you have to work on so many things. Virat Kohli, one of the greatest batters in the world, has struggled with the balls on the fourth and fifth stump. So that just shows how difficult it is. And he's a pure batter, right? He has hours to work on that. So that's the reason why Jack Scalise was such a once in a generation bowler, a
And
player. You don't
also, I
even see
think
South
over the
Africa
years,
actually
you have
emulating
seen
that.
the majority of fast bowling all rounders get injured more often. You consider all the players, and you
Yeah,
will see that
yeah.
fast bowling all rounders get injured. So you can't have a Jack Kelly. That is
I
being very
mean,
optimistic.
yeah, but my point being, guys, I think Indian team at this point in time, right? The development starts, or actually the development should basically end, to be very honest, in the domestic level, right? You're always hoping that a finished product is what you bring to the international stage. But I sometimes feel, that's where the Indian cricket team, right? They should be, I mean, I don't know if there is some relation here or if there is some communication already in place, but if there isn't, there should be some communication. You should be able to reach out to these domestic teams and their management and the players themselves that okay, we are thinking of putting you in this particular role in the Indian team in this format if you get that role in the domestic tournaments. You cannot expect a Sanju Samson, for example, or a Venkatesh Iyer came into the team as a top order bat. Now you're expecting them to be middle order bat at international cricket where they're going to face the toughest challenge. You
Yeah.
cannot, and then you're not ready to give them the rope as well to perform and adjust to that stage. I think that's just unfair. So it's like making a fish climb a tree and then being disappointed after he tries 3 times.
I mean, that's a very good point which you made over here. Ishan Kishan Gill should be opening the batting. Yeah, that's more likely going to be I don't think Shubman Gill will be opening the batting, but I say Ruturaj Gaikwad and Ishan Kishan opening the batting in T20 format at this point because Shubman Gill I still think isn't the right player for T20. Just
But
my
then
call, my
does
personal.
Sanju Samson play? If you open with Ishan Kishan and Rituraj Gaikwad, does Sanju Samson make it to the playing 11? Because you have Deepak Huda, Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya in
Yeah.
that middle order.
Yeah, possibly. I think Deepak Huda will bat number 6, number 7, and Surya Kumar Yadav with number 4. Number 3 is a spot which is vacant at this point. Now, if you look at that squad once again, you can see that someone like Rahul Tripathi also can make a breakthrough into that top 3, considering the amount of vacancies available. I still think number 7 is going to be Washington Sundar. At number 6 is going to be Deepak Huda. Number 5, Hardik Pandya. Number 4, Surya Kumar Yadav. So the only question is going to be who's going to open to the Ishan Krishna, who's going to bat at number 3. From whatever is my understanding, I think Sanju Samson is going to bat number 3 possibly. And Sanju Samson should ideally bat number 3 for this team. And maybe Ruturaj Gaikwad can open the batting. And
But
I
in the
personally,
past, we have seen Ishan Kishan drop down to number 3 when you have 2 openers. So if Sanju Samson wants to open
I think
or
Sanju
if
Samson is opening the batting, and Indian team certainly does not consider Sanju Samson as an opener
no,
because
then you still have somebody like a Gill and Rituraj Gaikwad in your team, so they might even go with Gill and Gaikwad to open the innings, and Ishan
No,
Kishan might
no,
come in at number 3, and
I
then
don't think
where
Gill
does
and
Sanju
Gaikwad
Samson
will
play?
together open the batting. They'll definitely have a left-hand option up front. So it's going to be Ishan Kishan who's going to open the batting for sure because that's the way they went about in New Zealand series as well. So Ishan Kishan will open the batting, and at number two, most likely you will have a Shubman Gill or Ruturaj Gaikwad. I think it's going to be Ruturaj Gaikwad because he's been higher on the pecking order as well. And at number 3, you will have a Sanju Samson. And number 4, Surya Kumar Yadav. Number 5, Hardik Pandya. Number 6, Huda. And number 7, Washington Sundar. That's how top 7 is going to look like for that first T20 match, at least
Because I am
out of
expecting a
order.
riot if Sanju Samson does not make it to the playing 11, and I think
It's going to be very surprising if Sanju Samson does not make it a playing 11. I'll just say it's very unlucky in that case because there's a best opportunity to try someone at number 3 or someone like Sanju Samson should be given that role at number 3 and given a longer rope as well because with his Indian team at this point, there's no clue whatsoever. And Michael is, I mean, he's not bad. He's kind of right in pointing it out, saying that Indian selectors have been like headless
Yeah,
chickens. There's been no vision. There's been no absolute sense of no absolute sense of the way in which you want to go about things because you have been bringing Rahul Tripathi in one-day format when he's been performing in T20 format. You've been playing players in the wrong format time and time again
they
without
have
any
just been
idea.
like Punjab Kings in recent times.
I mean, it has been that way around, and
yeah.
I'm not surprised. I'm very shocked that Chetan Sharma has applied for selector's position once again. I God save Indian cricket if selection committee is again headed by Chetan Sharma because he's been ridiculous as a selector, in my opinion at least. And I'll stand by my word. I'll absolutely stand by my word, saying that Chetan Sharma's selection committee has absolutely destroyed Indian cricket, and we've been in doldrums over the last 1 year. We've had incredible amount of losses. We've seen the worst. I think 2022 can be the worst possible in Indian cricket history in the last 10 years or so. We've lost in South Africa. We lost a test match in England. We lost to Bangladesh. We lost T20 World Cup. We lost Asia Cup.
Because
We
there
faced.
has been no stability. There is no stability in this side because you play a 11 for one game, and in the second game you have a completely different captain, different setup, different bowlers, different strategy is completely different for the other game. So I don't know what they have been thinking in the last year. Yeah, with COVID times they were probably thinking of having two sort of 11s, so they can travel more freely and players have some adequate amount of rest. But the process has been poor, absolutely poor, because you have had players like Arshdeep Singh, Umran Malik. You invested in them, right after the IPL, they brought about a change. They brought in so many youngsters to the camp, and then they had that cushion of 20 games or so before the T20 World Cup to try out different talents, different
I
players.
mean,
They
you know
did
what
try
really
everybody out, and
baffled
then
me
they
even
shifted to
then
the
was,
same old
you
team.
know, making last moment changes, right? You were
Yeah.
unsure as to who was your keeper batter. Was it Dinesh Karthik or was it Rishabh Pant? You were unsure as to who was your number one spinner. To drop Yuzvendra Chahal right before the World Cup was atrocious in my opinion. And I also will blame the team management for that. Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma. We already did a complete episode on that. That's why I don't want to go
And
again
not just that,
back in the
Abel, I
past.
also think along with the last minute changes, I think it's more with the form. You have dropped players who were in the right form at the right time. You brought them in, and without any explanation you are dropping them. Why should we have a last minute conversation on who should be our wicket keeper? Because we saw this, probably Avesh Khan was in the running for the third fast bowling option uh, throughout the year. At the last moment, he was having a horrible run. To be fair to the selection committee as well, but they dropped him, and then they brought new faces in place of him right before the Asia Cup.
Brought in a Mohammad Shami out of nowhere. I mean, that was pretty shocking for me as well. You brought in a
And
Umesh
that
Shami.
is my problem. If you wanted to bring in a Mohammad Shami was a very capable bowler, but you had to give him that run. He had a great IPL. He was sitting in without getting a game for Team India in that window of 3 or 4 months. He did not get one game, and suddenly he was called for the World Cup. I mean,
Yeah.
there are heights of asking something out of a player, and I think India
I
just
think I think
went too
World Cup
far.
was just a disaster. I mean, it was just a disaster. Though you had a couple of very good games, especially the Pakistan game, maybe the Bangladesh game. But other than that, you had a very poor World Cup. I mean, I don't you maybe you can cherry pick maybe those two sixers of Virat Kohli and you can probably cherish out of it. But then there's nothing great about Indian cricket in the last 5 to 6 years in terms of white ball format. At least we've
And they are
had
not even winning the bilateral
disaster
series right now. So
and
we
how
were
have we
complaining
been
about
winning
India
bilateral
winning all the
series? So there's
bilateral
nothing
series.
really. Yeah, we're in doldrums. I mean, if, when you talk about Pakistan's test team, that's something very similar to India's white ball format at this point. At least in test format, we've been very good.
Yeah.
Credits to maybe long lead processes set by Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli over the last 8 to 10 years. But then I also saw that being dismantled over the last 6 to 7 months, where things have been absolutely bleak. I have no idea. I mean, I personally want to call out Rahul Dravid because he's looked very clueless as a coach to me. He's looked very clueless as a coach. No tactics, no vision, no understanding of game situation whatsoever. And I have no idea, man. I mean, to be very honest, if I was the BCCI selector or if I was the chairman of BCCI, I would have sacked Rahul Dravid. He has done enough tactical mistakes to actually call for sacking. If I have to be a football, if this was football, this was good enough to be sacked, to be very fair. These kind of
I
performances were
think
good enough
if
to be
this
sacked
was
as a
football,
coach.
I think T20 World Cup was good enough to be sacked, especially the lead up to the T20 World Cup. And he has also, I mean, it's like like I mentioned, the only team that I can draw parallels to what India is doing in the international circuit is Punjab Kings. Anil Kumble and Punjab Kings did exactly what India and Rahul Dravid has been doing for
Is
them
it
in
is
the
it
last
is it a
2 years.
Bangalore thing to do?
Yeah, Bangalore Engineers. I was just coming to that point. Bangalore
Well, he was not
Engineers.
an
My
engineer.
God.
Come on. I mean, that's just a ridiculous point from us, but yeah. Let's go to the one day format. I think that's one hope for us. This is the one day World Cup year. We're just 3 days away from the new year, and this is alternate year which we are possibly going to see the third star on the badge. Sandeep already has a 3 stars, but as a T20 World Cup, I still don't like the fact that we're having 3 stars on a normal BCI jersey. In a T20 jersey, it's fair to have 1 star, and one day jersey should have 2 stars. That's the way to go about it. But can we get the third star on the badge for the one day jersey? That's the whole point. Let's look at the one day squad here. This is a one day squad which was announced yesterday. Rohit Sharma is back in the team. Remember, just to mention once again, Rohit Sharma was available for selection in the T20 team. Virat Kohli also was available in the T20 team. Even KL Rahul was, but they were not considered. So there is certainly a vision and a move ahead. So in this one day squad, the biggest exclusion is of Shikhar Dhawan, who's dropped. Hardik Pandya is named the vice captain of this team. There's of course Ishan Kishan, the wicket keeper, alongside KL Rahul, the wicket keeper. There's Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav, Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, Umran Malik, and Arshdeep Singh. So there's a left arm pacer in the likes of Arshdeep Singh, who's yet to crack the one day format, in my opinion. He's not gotten enough chances in the one day format at least. But there's Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj. Mohammad Siraj has been outstanding form once again. Umran Malik has done decently when whatever the opportunities he's got in the one day format as well. Washington Sundar is there alongside Yuzvendra Chahal, Kuldeep Yadav. A very, very decent squad. Shreyas Iyer has been outstanding from whatever you say of his technique, whatever you say he's vulnerable to short balls, but he's been the leading run scorer for you in the calendar year. He scored runs whenever you have given him that opportunity in any format whatsoever. Jared, I'll come to you on this one day squad. Are you a little surprised, or are you just okay with the fact that India have looked beyond Shikhar Dhawan because it was about time we looked beyond him?
It's a very tough one. I know many fans are upset about Shikhar Dhawan being dropped, but I think it makes sense, able for me at least, because if you look at the top order once again, it's the same analysis that we were doing for T20 team. If you look at the top order now, this is a lot more balanced because you have what four top order bats right now in your squad. You have Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, Ishan Kishan. Then in the middle order, Suryakumar Yadav, Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya, and then Washington Sundar, Akshar Patel in the lower order. This is a pretty balanced squad, and if you can just pull up the graph once again, you'll see how it is well balanced between the 3 points contention right there. And I mean, yeah, Shikhar Dhawan is a great player. He's done amazing job for India so far in his ODI career. But I think it's really time we look past him because ODI has moved on from a batter like Shikhar Dhawan, because I feel Ishan Kishan for me, for instance, is doing a great job in one day format. I feel he bats with the same strike rate that cricket in the one day format. It's just one day format, that's the exact strike rate that we need from an Indian opening batter. So I think Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and Ishan Kishan's opening batting would be a great way to go for India because of right hand left hand combination. Shubman Gill again is a very good player, I feel, in one day cricket, because a lot of these T20 anchors that India is producing right now are still decent enough players in T20 cricket, because I mean, in one day cricket, because the strike rate sort of stays the same. And that's a great thing for India. Even the middle order, as I think Abel also mentioned earlier, I think KL Rahul is a very good player still in one day format because he gets to play his natural game that he's playing in T20 cricket as well. He gets 20s or so overs to bat at number 5. When he comes on to bat for India number 5, on an average, he'll get to bat 20 odd overs, give and take. And I think that's where he builds a very good innings. He takes his time, he's a little bit more patient because he doesn't have to go after the bowling. Thanks to that time constraint being a little more relaxed. So that's where I think Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, Suryakumar Yadav, if Suryakumar Yadav comes good, then this Indian team really looks good in terms of the batting.
Absolutely, and that's something which you rightly mentioned in terms of the balance. What do you see? It's well balanced. It's equally distributed in terms of middle order bats and top order bats. Now, coming back to that question, which Sandeepani also actually took it up early on, was KL Rahul's position in the team, right? KL Rahul has been outstanding, especially when it comes to the one day format, batting in the middle order. Whatever opportunity he's gotten, he's really scored and he's really converted those, especially in situations where India were in trouble. Now, I remember in 2020 when India toured New Zealand, that's when he started really batting in the middle order for Team India and keeping wickets. He's looked very assured in terms of him coming at number 5 for Team India, scoring runs wherever India have lost wickets up front, giving that stability as a factor. And he plays spin well. There was never a doubt of him playing spin through the middle overs for Team India. He plays that well. He's a pretty good batter in terms of that bridge between the middle order and top order, and he's been able to do that pretty well for Team India. And also Shreyas Iyer there, Sandeepani. How does that middle order look for you? And with KL keeping the wickets, that's what I'm saying. Or even Ishan Kishan can keep the wickets, but
No, I think with
either
Ishan
way,
Kishan,
that middle
they
order
have
looks
looked. Yeah.
the middle order looks much more solid in terms of having Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul in the middle compared to a T20 squad at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think with this ODI side, I think they can go into the World Cup with this ODI squad. Probably they'll have to work a bit on that bowling department. But this batting unit, I would want India to persist with the same 11 till the ODI World Cup 2023, because you have Shubman Gill, Ishan Kishan, Rohit Sharma as your opening opportunity, as your opening slot batters. You have Virat Kohli coming in at number 3. You have a replacement. You can't have a replacement for everyone. So I think Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, once they they'll make way for Shubman Gill and Ishan Kishan. I think Shubman Gill and Ishan Kishan are the future of the ODI team opening pair. This is going to be the opening pair that India will persist on for long. in 2023, 2024. I think they can definitely invest on both Ishan Kishan and Shubman Gill. Both are technically very sound. They have that attacking mindset as well. They'll not get bogged down. And with in recent times, we have seen how important the putting the pressure early on in the innings becomes for them. So I think opening with Rohit Sharma. For the time being, Shubman Gill has to wait. So Rohit Sharma and Ishan Kishan will open the innings. You'll have Virat Kohli at number three. In that middle order, looks one of the best in the world right now, especially on paper, because uh, Surya
And
Kumar
Hardik
Yadav,
Pandya at number 6. And if you
yeah,
have
Hardik
Jadeja
Pandya
at
at
number
number six
7.
gives India that stability that India did not have in the series against Bangladesh, because Washington Sundar, Shahbaz Ahmed, whatever you say about them, they are not your number six players with the bat. Whatever they do in IPL, whatever they do in domestic cricket, in the international format, I don't see Washington Sundar as your number six batsman for the national
And at
side. I
least in
don't
the
know why.
one day format, there's a lot of assurity that India can do it. Because you feel like
Yeah.
that batting
Yeah,
order is
it's a
good enough
very
to actually
strong middle
do it.
order. Is what my point is. You have Virat Kohli at number three. You have Shreyas Iyer at number four in the form of his life. You have KL Rahul at number five, a solid, stable batter at number five who can sort of take the innings to who can play according to what the situation demands from it. You have Hardik Pandya at number six, who can again once again come in if you want him to take a few balls to settle down and then go after the attack. He can do that. He can just come in and go after the bowling attack right from ball one. And then you have Washington Sundar at number seven, and probably you'll get an extended tell if you have Deepak Chahar at number eight, and then probably Shardul Thakur at nine, and so on and so forth. So you
I think
have that.
Shardul Thakur will be coming into the one day squad. But yeah, Deepak Chahar is not a bad
Yeah, you
option.
can have a replacement. I mean, if all whatever we
Yeah,
are
but
seeing, whatever
we're
this
talking about
squad
the
we are seeing will,
batting.
yeah.
India have always had that issue with picking up wickets in the middle overs, right? That's one of the issues which India had to deal with after the 2019 World Cup, which was not the that was the incapability of picking up wickets in the middle overs. Then you also saw the complete division between Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal. They were split apart after the 2019 World Cup. Hence, you
And I
saw
think
there
that is
was a
where India
clear,
went wrong.
clear.
And I think they have understood that they will probably have to go back to
But even
their old
now,
duo.
do you make a case for them playing together in this squad,
Not in
especially
this
when
squad.
you
Not in this squad. I don't see them playing together if Washington Sundar makes it at number seven for them. So one of Kuldeep Yadav or Yuzvendra Chahal, because we have seen that Kuldeep Yadav was not in the best of forms when he was dropped. He was suffering with injuries. He was suffering with the pace at which he used to deliver the balls, and I think it was a phase in his career when he was not actually landing the ball at the correct line and length wherever he wanted to do it. And then he took a break. He went to Delhi Capitals, and that sort of rejuvenated his career. For Yuzvendra Chahal, he had his prime or peak for a longer period of time. But I think right now both Yuzvendra Chahal, uh, especially Yuzvendra Chahal, is past his prime, because we get to see that Chahal has become a lot more defensive in the recent years. In 2019, if Yuzvendra Chahal used to get hit for a six, he used to toss the ball up in the next delivery as well. Something which you will see Kuldeep Yadav do. If Kuldeep Yadav has been hit for a six straight down the ground, he will again toss it up and
I
ask the
think
batsman
Kuldeep
to hit
Yadav
it.
has been in phenomenal form whenever he has gotten
Phenomenal
an
form.
opportunity.
And
I
that is
think Kuldeep
something which
Yadav should be the
Chahal has
most
not done.
unlucky
Chahal
Indian player,
has
to be
opted for
honest.
that defensive line. If he gets
I
hit
think,
for a six, he bowls, yeah, he balls in
I
the
mean, even
outside
even
channel.
during Kuldeep Yadav's bad form, Kuldeep Yadav has always done well, and that's something which has been the case with which has not been
No,
the case with
but the
Yuzvendra
selectors were
Chahal.
not happy with Kuldeep Yadav, especially with his pace. He was bowling at 70-75 kilometers per hour, and they felt that with that pace, batsman had enough time to understand whichever way the ball was going. He was picking up a lot of wickets, but he was going for plenty as well. But
Yeah.
that is what India needs right now. They want wickets in the middle order. So no matter if you go for 70-75 runs in 10 overs, give us three wickets, and I think we are happy with it.
I mean, that was a change which you saw in 2017, but I don't know why India looked beyond it after 2019. Maybe that's because of the balance factor. But Jared, looking at this team, especially the bowling lineup, Jared, how do you see this bowling lineup be? Because you, of course, will see a Bumrah come back into this team. So if you were to pick up two paces, who will it be? In my personal opinion, it will be Siraj and Umran Malik for me. And Mohammad Shami can definitely wait. Mohammad Shami is definitely coming out for an injury, but I'll still go with Mohammad Siraj and Umran Malik because you need an enforcer kind of a ball through the middle overs. And Mohammad Siraj is a sure starter for me. There's no way you're going to look beyond Mohammad Siraj in this format because he's really sealed the spot for Team India, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me, at least in this series, right? I mean, Mohammad Shami is a great player, a great bowler as well. But for me, in this series, I think Umran Malik and Mohammad Siraj, I mean, Mohammad Siraj, Umran Malik, and Arshdeep Singh, these are my three pace bowlers. I would hope, that Mohammad Siraj and Arshdeep Singh make up my, death bowling, really death bowling pair in that last 8 overs or so. But then you would require Hardik Pandya to really ball a lot more than what he's been balling in the T20 format, for instance. A little bit of a workload will be increased on him because you need someone to support Umran Malik either with the new ball or in the middle overs, because you will have to share Arshdeep and Mohammad Siraj in the power play and in the death overs, because these are your two best new ball bowlers and your best death ballers as well. So you have to share those overs between them. That means in the middle overs, you need Hardik Pandya and Umran Malik to really do that job. I still feel Umran Malik needs to improve a lot when it comes to his power play bowling, because sometimes I feel he tends to be a little stubborn with his line and length and expect that batters will be intimidated by his pace. But that's not always the case at international cricket. Sometimes your pace can be your detriment. We've seen that happen time and time again to Andrik Nokia, right? On days that he balls really well. But then there are days that his pace really becomes a weapon in the batsman's hand, not the bowler's hand. So that's something that Umran Malik needs to be a little bit more, flexible in terms of his line and length. But aside from that, I think in middle overs, that's where he comes really perfectly, because then the batters are really not trying to go after you, but looking to survive till the 35th over or so. So maybe that's where in the middle overs, right? You said that India does have a conundrum of not being able to take middle overs wickets. Maybe Umran Malik is a key to that.
I mean, that's a good point. And also alongside that, I'd also like to see how Washington Sundar goes about it, because there's a huge opportunity for someone like a Washington Sundar now, with given Ravindra Jadeja's recent list of injuries and his recent issues regarding his fitness. I think Washington Sundar has really got an opportunity to really make it count. I really think there's a lot of potential in Washington Sundar, especially when it comes to this format. And if you are going to give him the long rope, and especially the long rope where he can be given the opportunity to bat at number 7 and ball through the middle overs alongside Yuzvendra Chahal, Kuldeep Yadav, I think that's going to really help a bowler's confidence. How do you see that, Sandeep, and especially for someone like Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar to get the number 7 slot? Maybe to be a backup to Ravindra Jadeja, but in case if Ravindra Jadeja is, if not, Ravindra Jadeja is not fit for the World Cup in 2023, who do you think will have that edge or the nose side? Because with Akshar Patel, he is definitely good on tracks which really aid spin. But in case if you're playing on a flatter surface, as you saw in Australia, as you saw on surface which does not aid spin, it does not really come into effect, or it does not, its effectiveness completely goes on radar.
See, honestly, I'm very honest confession. I'm neither a fan of Washington Sundar nor a fan of huge fan of Akshar Patel. I think both of them will are very lucky to get that number 7 spot for Team India, because India are finding it very difficult to find a replacement. Forget about a replacement; they are finding it very difficult to fill that all rounder slot. Not forget about a replacement for Ravindra Jadeja, because at the level at which Jadeja was operating, I think it is very difficult for a new player to come in and sort of fill in that shoes. But I think early on, whatever opportunities Akshar Patel has got in the ODI format, he delivered for India both with bat and ball. Because
I
if you remember the
personally think, it's my genuine opinion that someone like Krunal Pandya, I still think India did not invest in him as heavily as he should have been invested upon, because there was a lot of talent in him, especially when it comes to his batting prowess. Let's not take his bowling into account over here, because there was certain weakness in his bowling,
And
but I
also, you
still
have to
thought
understand the
his bowling could
camaraderie
have
between
been.
the Pandya brothers. With Hardik Pandya being the captain, I think he would have used Krunal Pandya in a better way in the team. So I think with Pandya being the captain or vice captain or being one of the influential players in the team, given that if Krunal Pandya was in some sort of form, because we have seen Krunal Pandya was in decent form in the IPL, in the last IPL that he played. But I think the selectors have looked way
I think
past
he's suffering through an
Krunal.
injury at this point. I think it's been a long
Also the
injury
selectors have
for.
also moved beyond Krunal Pandya at this point. I mean, they tried him, and then he got injured at the wrong time, and then you had players like Shehbaz Ahmed, Akshar Patel, Washington Sundar
But
stepping up and
if you look at the domestic cricketing system or circuit at large, you barely find all rounders or spin bowling all rounders who can actually be a like replacement, or you don't see potential of any player who can reach possibly Jadeja level. Because
yeah.
Jadeja's level in terms of his batting ability and also when it comes to his bowling and fielding is of another level altogether. I
Abel,
don't see any player in domestic
if I
cricket doing that.
may,
So
I mean, you remember an era where Jadeja used to not be a great batter and just be a decent bowler. I
no,
think,
Jadeja
but
was
who was
always a good
really
batter. Jadeja was always
But
a
I
good
mean,
batter.
you remember an era where he
But I
struggled,
think
right,
his
with the
stats, if
bat.
you
You
talk about
remember when he
Jadeja being a
became,
batter, I think his stats catapulted after the 2013 or 2014 season. I think he came into
yeah, precisely.
prominence. He was scoring those
He
consistent runs.
progressively worked on his batting.
Yeah,
Initially, when he came to the CSK team and even in the Indian team, he was a good enough batter at that spot.
he
But
was a
then there was
bowling
an era where
all-rounder.
his batting really dipped. His batting really dipped, and he became just a bowler along with Ashwin. But I think Indian team stuck with him, and Indian team, provided him that opportunity to continue with him. That is how Indian team was once upon a time, where once they invest in a player, they went the full length with him, right? They tried the best to make sure that he completes his development cycle. But you're not seeing that with this Indian team anymore. I mean, for me, well, there are two things, right? One, either a bowling all if you're a bowling all rounder as a spinner, you should be able to turn the ball to a decent amount. Otherwise, you're really not a threat. If your stock delivery doesn't turn, then you're just bowling arm balls or I don't know, right arm seam ups or
I
left
mean
arm seam ups.
that's been the
If
issue with Washington Sundar and Akshar Patel as well, and
But
alongside
I think
Ashwin.
Washington Sundar for me, I think Washington Sundar and Akshay Patel in the recent past have worked a little bit more. They are turning the ball slightly a little bit more. They aren't the ballers they initially came on. But now I think it's time you pick one player and you stick with him, right? I think this is not a good thing that you're one series you're having Washington Sundar, then the next you have Akshay Patel, then you're swapping between them. That is not going to work. If you stick
And
with
then you
one
had
player
Shahbaz
and
and
try and
all that as well.
No, but
yeah,
I think the
exactly
selectors
right.
right now have a player in mind. They have either Washington Sundar. I think Washington Sundar is
That's what Jen is trying to make a point, right? It's either, it's not one. That's a major issue
no,
over
no,
here.
but they are
Exactly.
still. I mean, it's still a long time. You can't just have a player, and then you can have a player like Avesh Khan who hits the rock
I
bottom
mean,
at the wrong point.
Jadeja is now 34. Jadeja is going to be 34 next year. So
Yeah,
Jadeja is also coming to the later part of his career. And maybe with also given the list of injuries he's had to face, I think his career is going to be certainly curtailed a
yeah.
huge extent. Maybe he can play up to 37, 36 at max. I don't see him playing beyond that. I know his fitness is phenomenal when it comes to
So you might as
whenever
well
he's
go with
fit,
the
he's
youngster,
phenomenal.
which is Washington Sundar right now. I think even
I
Akshay
think
Patel.
it's
I
better
think
to invest in a player like Washington Sundar as well because with Washington Sundar you get an off spinning option, especially when it comes to matchups. You can use him there, and but with Washington Sundar, another issue is also that he is also highly prone to injuries. Every time you have Washington Sundar in the squad, he finds different ways to get ruled out. It could be COVID, it
why
could be
why can't India
injury.
play three spinners in India in the World Cup? Because 2011 India's success in the World Cup, it was Harbhajan Singh, Ashwin, and then you had 8 to 10 overs from
No, no, no.
Yuvraj Singh.
Yuvraj Singh was there, right?
Yeah,
There
so
was
you had the third spinner.
You
But
had
if you're
That's
going
the
Harbhajan
ahead,
Singh
point. I
and
mean,
you had two spinners. Sandimani, you barely played Ashwin in that World Cup except couple of games. So you had Harbhajan Singh and Yuvraj Singh as your main spinners. That's how you had success throughout
see,
that
that's my
World Cup.
point, guys.
And you
you
relying
had
on
you
Rohit
had
That's
Sharma
Chawla in
exactly
your
my point.
team. You had Chawla
Abel,
in your team.
Sandeepan, that's my point, right? Either you have a spinner, a bowling all-rounder who turns the ball, whose stock delivery is a dangerous one, whom batsmen find it difficult to play. That was Harbhajan Singh for you. I mean, I wouldn't exactly classify him as a bowling all-rounder, but that is who he was. And then you have a bowler who maybe doesn't turn the ball as much, whose stock delivery isn't as dangerous, but he's really good
But
with the bat.
Jaren, when you had
You
Yuvraj
cannot
Singh, he used
have
to bat at
a
top
player
two.
who's that's my point. That is exactly my point, Abel. So Yuvraj Singh, whose stock delivery wasn't the most dangerous one, who was a bowler who would give you 3 to 4 overs, and who could bat at the top of the order. So he was a great batter who could ball a little bit, or who could ball to a good decent amount. Harbhajan Singh was a great bowler who could bat that little bit. But right now you have Washington Sundar and Akshay Patel, both of whom who don't turn the ball as much. I know they're working on it. They might become better in the next 2 3 years because I've seen Washington Sundar get some turn as well on some helpful pitches, which we did not see initially in his career. But you need to either improve his
I'm
bowling
just
or improve his batting
just
so
to
that he can bat
put
at
it
number six
bluntly.
or number six, number seven.
Yeah, just to put it bluntly, I will say I'm not a fan of a spinner who just comes in and darts the ball in, and I think that has been my biggest
Yeah,
problem with Washington Sundar throughout his career. He just comes in and darts the ball in and expects the batsman to just miss it, and uh, he's a Imad Wasim sort of a bowler who will come in the power plays, just dart the ball in. Not a Samuel Badr. I want a Samuel Badri in my team and not a Imad Wasim.
Yeah, makes sense.
Hmm.
And that's something which is also going off trend at this point because batters are able to line you against batters know the ball is not going to turn anywhere,
Yeah.
so they can line you up and they can expect the ball to land in the same spot time and time again. Because there's no variation whatsoever. They rely on the arm ball heavily, and they're a very defensive option, in my opinion. At least in the one day format, I don't see them surviving. Hence, you saw Ashwin, Jadeja, everybody being taken off the radar completely. If you're playing Jadeja alongside Jadeja, you need an attacking spinner. It could be a Kuldeep Yadav or a Yuzvendra
Yeah,
Chahal. And
that is
also
why
an
I was
attacking
thinking,
fast bowler.
why not we can have a game, we can have in a game we can have Kuldeep Yadav, we can have Chahal, we can have either of Mohammad Siraj or Umran Malik and Arshdeep Singh. So four main bowlers. Then you have Washington Sundar and Hardik Pandya as your fifth bowling option. I think in Indian pitches you can go ahead
Yeah.
with
Yeah, you
25
can.
overs
You
of spin.
certainly can. And like that was one of the. I mean, that was India's combination in the 2019 World Cup as well. If you remember, we only had five bowling options. We did not have
But
the
the
six bowling
difference
option.
between India having 25 overs of spin in England and India having 25 overs of spin in India
I
will
mean,
make a
leading up
difference.
to 2019 World Cup from 2017 onwards, your bowling combination was two pacers in Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Bumrah, and you had two spinners in Chahal and Kuldeep, and one pacer in Hardik Pandya, who was an all-rounder, and you did not have a six bowling option. Hence, you had to bring in someone like a Kedar Jadhav. You had a long rope with Kedar Jadhav, and Jadeja was nowhere in the squad as well.
So if
I thought that was
Jadeja
the
and
right
Bumrah are
balance.
fit, so I think if we can vision this side as Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh as your two main pacers, uh, Chahal and Kuldeep as your two spinners, and then
I
you have
think it's going
Jadeja
to be
and
Bumrah and
Hardik
Arshdeep.
Pandya.
It's going to be Bumrah and Siraj, and maybe it's going to be what do I say? It's going to be Chahal and Kulban. I don't see them playing together at all. It's going to be three pacers, one spinner, and one all-rounder
And also
spinner.
the problem with playing both the spinners together has been Yuzvendra Chahal's form. I think the
Yeah,
attitude, the mentality that has shifted from being aggressive to slightly defensive hasn't helped his cause. He picked up a lot of wickets in the IPL, but after the IPL we saw once again if he's getting hit for if the batsman is taking him on in the earlier part of his spell, he's just bowling those defensive lines and which is not helping. Something which we saw Adil Rashid do in the 2019 T20 World 2020 in the 2022 T20 World Cup. So that
yeah.
is not going to help your team.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
doesn't. It doesn't help your team at all. But having said that, I think that's about it from us. We've had an elaborate discussion on the white ball squads and what should be the way ahead for this team and what is a possible way in which you can bring in new
also
players.
surprisingly, India will be playing a ODI and a bilateral ODI series after like coming from two back-to-back defeats. They lost to New Zealand 1-0, they lost to Bangladesh 2-1, and now hopefully they'll go on and bounce back against Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
hopefully.
since the World Cup, we have been having a very bad spell.
I mean, it's also because of the selections you've had. It's because of the way in which you put up a team, right? You've had no vision whatsoever. You've just not. You've actually had complete scatter, Paul. You've actually scattered everything here and there. So it's a mess which you have created, and hence you're actually reaping the wrong rewards. You're reaping the rewards which you have set up for. I don't think you have to. You have only yourself to blame in this. No one else, and no player or anyone. It's a system which has failed completely in terms of World Cup, in terms of bilaterals as well. We've had a complete episode on this, but then today again it was about looking ahead because the squads were announced. There was definitely a good vision in terms of looking ahead in T20 format. In one day format, we feel it's a much settled unit. It's about players coming and gelling together at the right time and performing together as a team. In Bangladesh, you had a very bad series, in my opinion. I still think there's enough time to come back out of it and really put up a performance, and I think this is it. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate your comments. I really appreciate the love you have been showing us. Keep sharing this video to as many people as you can so that we can keep bringing you more of these content in the coming days and we can keep enhancing you with more of the cricketing understanding, data, stats, everything else. We'll be coming very soon in terms of cricket and we'll be coming to more of a football to talk about English Premier League because the match day 17 gets over tonight. So we'll be definitely reviewing that. And after that, leading up to the Sri Lanka series, every day will be live post match, pre game, whatever possible way in terms of reviewing that series and previewing it as well. Have a good time, all of you. Take care and see you all very soon. Bye bye.
Good night, guys.
Bye bye, guys.